do you think that finding a point guard should be a priority, or are there other skill sets that you think are more important to add around the Jays?
I think I think shooting. I mean, it depends on what you think of Marcus Smart as a point guard, because Marcus Smart played a lot more on ball last year under Udoka, and everyone was like, "Wow, they actually have a really good point guard in Smart." He was one of the most efficient pick and roll playmakers in the league for years, and it kind of scaled pretty well, especially with the lob game to Rob Williams. And then
Hmm.
this year's offense didn't really have as much structure to it, and Smart didn't have the ball in his hands a lot of the time late in games, and so I think that Missoula needs to figure out if they can kind of reshape the system to entrust Smart to be the playmaker more. And do they trust him to not, throw alley oops from the 3 point line that go over the backboard, stuff like that. So that's a big part of it. But I think Tatum is a good enough playmaker that you don't have to have a prioritized playmaker next to him. I think you can have him be your main offensive creator late in games. I do think they need to figure out more ways that they can start the ball in Marcus Smart's hands and then get it to Jason Tatum with an advantage. And that was the thing that they weren't really doing. So I would prioritize shooting, rebounding, defensive versatility, continue to to go down the path that they're going down.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too. And these guys are not like all in their 30s, which I think that it feels like that because there is a lot of continuity in Boston. It's like, all right, we've seen this enough times, like enough already. But these guys are still young and like are still developing and are still getting better. And I think that we as an NBA community like to rush things, but I think like this, they've made it far in the playoffs, like 2 years in a row. And I know this is disappointing to lose to the Heat in the way they did, but man, like sometimes you have to take your lumps with groups and before you actually get there. And so I kind of believe in like just run it back, add a few pieces around the fringe and just try it again. Because I just think that making sweeping changes, I think, could be a mistake.
And a big thing is everyone's always like, we'll give it one more year, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Get to the end of that year, see how you feel. I think coming out of this year, I'm not thinking like, oh, time to give up on this team. I
Right.
saw, and like you got to remember the coaching situation was insane. Like they got a new
Yes.
coach who wasn't even a front of bench coach. Right, like
Yeah.
right at the beginning, like right before, literally the day we walked in the media day, they're all like, "I guess Joe's the coach now." I still don't know where Ime is, and they loved Ime. So like, it wasn't
Uh,
the problem. Wasn't even it had nothing to do with Joe. They're like, Ime's like the
yeah.
best coach ever. We love it. We're having an amazing time, and all of a sudden he's gone, and they won't even tell us why. And we're like just kind of reading reports about why, and we're getting our own sourcing. It's like they were pissed the fuck off, and so
Yeah.
they they rallied. And I think a big thing is, there were a lot of issues with Joe Mazzulla, a lot of good things with Joe Mazzulla too. I think we always harp on the negative with him. A lot of good stuff. He tried a lot of stuff. I think a lot of it worked. And the guys really love him, and he really holds people accountable. He's crazy behind closed doors. I mean, he shows a different kind of crazy in front of us in the media, but like he can be pretty crazy and intense, but also really loving and intense, positive as well. And so I think that they really believe in him. And what was really important is, Jay King and I did that big story on The Athletic.
Yep.
Every player that I talked to, every coaching staff member that I talked to, they all said the same stuff basically to me off the record that they did on the record in front of the cameras. Like all the stuff about we believe in Joe, he's trying. Maybe they were a little bit more comfortable kind of criticizing, but like the tenor and the point was still pretty much consistent across the board. And so that's what made me feel that Missoula with the right situation is going to do a lot better.